Hello, and welcome to a special episode of Power 3. What things are you looking forward to saying bye to in 2020? Join our conversation this week to find out who's been naughty or nice. Wishing you all a happy new year. What things would you like to see change in terms of like what's happening this year? And just like maybe after Christmas, like bye-bye. Don't want to see you again.
You've been naughty.
Like, what's been naughty, what's been nice
Yeah.
in terms of what's happened in, like, 2020?
Yeah, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, what would you guys do? Naughty or nice? Is he on
Naughty!
Naughty.
Naughty.
I think, I'm sorry, Boris. I read this article quite recently,
Yeah.
where it's been going on for a little while, but Boris says he's going to give up in the spring because he can't live off the 150,000 annual salary of the Prime Minister. So I'm going to say he's not even that in it. Bye-bye.
I mean, gosh, it must be so difficult to live on the breadline, like, only £150,000 a year, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
That's so tough.
Yeah, a lot has changed as well, actually, since, like, he's been Prime Minister.
So,
He's had a lot to sort of do this year, and last year as well, in terms of Brexit. COVID this year. I think we went into lockdown March the 23rd. That's like... it's so far away.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
That's when we were first told, officially, March the 23rd, that we weren't allowed to go outside. Or only for exercising, and there was all of
Once
these
a
papers.
day for an hour.
No one really slept to that, did they?
No.
I mean, people did, don't get me wrong, but there was people that had dogs. A lot of people in this country have dogs.
Yeah.
They totally had to walk their dogs. Like, why should you stop a dog from having a good time and some exercise because they said that you could only go out once? Probably not stumble into anybody at all.
Yeah. Do you guys know when Boris tested positive for COVID?
It was quite early on, wasn't it? Was it April? I want to say it was April.
I want to say it was April, or April, May.
So, if you guys remember, we had a period where we first went into lockdown, March the 23rd, and then, do you remember that situation where it was like, all of the Parliament had to go online and had their meetings, like, go online?
Virtual Parliament.
Yeah. Not too long after, actually, he got COVID on the 27th of March.
No.
What? 27th of March?
Yeah.
Are you serious? That is so, like, literally within, like, I didn't
Oh, do you know what?
realise
That
it was
makes
so
sense,
soon
'cause
after lockdown.
That was when he was like, oh, I still shaking everybody's hands. And we were all like, we should be in lockdown. And he's like, no, I'm still shaking hands.
He wasn't wearing a mask either.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not going to wear a mask. I'm still shaking everybody's hands. Oh, shit, I have COVID.
Yeah. I forgot it was so close to the date. I thought it was later.
It was literally like
Oh
a couple
my
of days. About a
That
week.
is crazy.
That is crazy. I didn't realise it was a couple.
No.
It was a couple of days.
So, has he done naughty or nice?
I think he's definitely been naughty.
Naughty.
But the one thing I will say is that, like, there's been some great comedy that has come off of the back of, like, him. Like, because like, Lord videos are, like, there's one he did recently. I say he, but it might not be he. They actually have the murals, like, there's spray paints of it around, like, Brighton.
Oh,
Like, our way, yeah. And there's, like, a video of him rapping to, like, I can't remember what it was about now, but it came out quite recently. Now I forgot. But I remember that other meme where basically it was, like, him, like, chasing someone.
Chasing someone.
This is not good of a remembering session.
No, it's really good.
What would you give him?
So I'm gonna say, definitely naughty, but however, like, he deserves at least a Satsuma rather than Cole, just because of the fact that, like, there's been some great comedy that has come out of his, like, buffoonery.
Yeah, but to be fair, should that be credited to him or the
That's
comedians? Like,
Satsumas for the comedians.
Satirist.
satirist with the Satsuma. I would say naughty.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna say naughty just because I just think he's a cunt. Sorry, I say this
Shameless.
to everybody. I have no shame. I said this in the street. I would say this out loud. I'm saying it out loud right now. I've always disliked like the fact that we could have someone whose literal game plan is to act like a buffoon as our prime minister. Like that's what he did as mayor in London. Like him, do you remember him going down the bloody thing in the harness?
Oh yeah.
Like no one wanting to see that. Like please no. But yeah, that's the kind of buffoonery that I was like, yeah, no, that's not him doing anything important. How is this helping anything?
JK has also been in the news recently this year as well. She said quite some controversial things.
What she said? Oh my god, okay, so I'm going to read it. So
Okay.
This is a tweet, so you're showing us a tweet, it's just of JK Rowling, and she said, if sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to tell the truth, to speak the truth, sorry.
Do you think the sort of attention she's gotten recently for being potentially transphobic, or maybe she is transphobic, has like been justified?
I feel like, right, that in this day and age, with the access to information and education that you can get now, I'm very surprised that she's making those kind of statements. And I think it also, particularly in her like open letter that she did, where it was kind of to do with women would be threatened by kind of like trans women being in kind of like same-sex change rooms and stuff, and it was to do with, I guess, kind of like attacks against women. It almost kind of paints trans people as if they're dangerous, and I feel like that is part of why I get quite concerned when these kind of arguments are peddled, because I feel like that actually you're kind of just saying something about a group when I feel like that actually they're already like persecuted and their lives are in some ways difficult enough when they have that like gender dysphoria and all that kind of stuff, and they're trying to fit in and fit with something. And I think the fact that when someone's so beloved as well, and someone that actually again has
Quite a large
supposedly
audience.
LGBT characters in her like fiction and stuff as well, I just think it's really shocking.
You can't
for that
accept
to-
one sort of sexuality or identity, or you can't accept one sort of identity within a group and then ignore the others or suppress the others' voices. She had in a recent novel that was published, she had a psychopath serial killer basically disguised as that dresses as a woman. And she got more attention from the fact that she was writing essays, but she's also publishing a novel to basically, maybe it's to drum up attention so people would read the book.
I mean, it's just a long thing to go, writing a whole book on to get to drum up attention for something else. So I'm not sure whether or not it was intentional. And the thing is, I'm conflicted when it comes to art, because I don't think that you should censor art. I think the minute you start censoring art is the minute you kind of dictate what people should think and feel. And I think there is a kind of a thing where it's not like I agree with anything that she said in that context, but at the same time it's kind of like, if that's what she wants to say, that is her right to say it at the same time. But it's kind of like you hold her against that if that's what you're against. It kind of upset you, and that's personal to you, or personal to what you believe. I believe you should kind of say, like, I'm upset with that, but we can't also expect everyone to agree with us. And actually having people like her say things that other people are thinking, but she has a presence to kind of voice that opinion, and giving other people who do have maybe a more of an educated understanding of what they're talking about, or have a conflicted view, having the platform to be able to contend with those kind of views and try and convince other people who may have not thought in that line of sense, try to educate them with what they're conflicting against her. There are people that probably feel exactly the same way but have never voiced it, one online, or have found anyone else who believes that, and so completely have that view and will not have a chance to have people actually go, well, if you look at it like this and this, and maybe change their mind. The only way you can do that is by people like her saying things that people kind of have conflicting. So I don't know if I can put her completely on the naughty list, if I'm honest, because as much as it angers me,
Mm.
it's kind of then saying I'm putting her on the list because she disagrees
Because
with
she has
me,
an
and
opinion.
yeah,
Yeah.
because of her opinion, it agrees with me, and for that I won't put her completely on the naughty list, although
Yeah.
she did annoy me.
I mean, like, I personally, I sit between as well. I think I maybe wouldn't put her on the naughty list because I don't think it's necessarily censoring, but I think in the same way she's obviously come out with this opinion or this idea about sex and identity and the association between men dressing as women and sort of trans issues. For me, it's not necessarily censoring. I think the backlash has more been about her using her position of power to express an opinion, I think, whereby we should equally be able to express our opinion as well. And I think she's put it down to cancel culture, essentially. She wrote an open letter about against cancel culture, saying that this is like the bane of what's been sort of censoring my work or trying to censor my ideas and opinion. So I agree with you in one element that art shouldn't be censored, but she's on Twitter saying this is not her novel or stories coming out and saying, we know that these ideas are perhaps supported in her art in some ways. We're kind of, well, maybe that's a good thing.
And
So,
like I say, I don't think that I don't think she should get cancelled. Like, I think it's more about, I think she just needs to be educated a bit, because I think a lot of even like the original tweet that she made, to me, just came across quite ignorant and quite like, she didn't necessarily understand that, like, because she kind of, again, to me, I feel like part of the problem is when you use the label woman and assign it to sex, because that's kind of like, female and woman aren't necessarily kind of the same thing, if that makes sense. You can be female but not necessarily a woman, and vice versa. And the whole original response to the fact that it was to do with the sanitary towel I think it was a tampon, and they basically said for everyone, and she was like, oh, I think there was a word for them, women, but it's kind of like, but trans men can still need sanitary products, because again, like, this is also the whole part of the problem, like, is that it's also, when you reduce someone to their biology like that, I don't know, I just think that it focuses on so much that I think doesn't need to be a part of the conversation.
it's not separating the issue with sexual identities and gender identities.
The fact that it came from that place in the first place, I just think that I feel like she doesn't deserve to get cancelled. I just think she needs to be better educated on the subject, and people need to, again, have your opinion and let us challenge you and let us say, well, actually, this is the reason why you're problematic, or this is the reason why you're incorrect in certain cases.
So that's why I think, like, that's kind of what I see the backlash as, people coming out and say, well, actually, we're fans of, like, the novels, and we love Harry Potter, and other series of, like, crime stories and stuff. But I mean, even, like, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson, Daniel Radcliffe have, like, said, like...
sort of spoken out, kind of against what she said,
But to be honest, like, it's not like she had them in mind when she was writing the characters. But I think it's good that they do kind of separate themselves from anything that you put out. What I find most ironic about her act of kind of feminist rebellion in this, because she's being kind of a separatist, kind of feminism is only for people who have the XX chromosome as well, after writing books under a male pseudonym.
Interesting. There's definitely been some good things though, like office working, for example. I think I'm kind of in between. I think, like, that's on my nice list. It's kind of like a little treat for myself, but at the same time I'm...
What, working from home?
Yeah, working from home.
Oh, I think it's definitely on my nice list.
I would say it's on my nice list too.
Would you want to see it continue into next year?
I hope so, because then if not, I might be out of a job, so... 'cause my role's always going to be at home, so...
Nice.
I really... Yes, please! I love it now. I'm so into it, especially because I have the luxury of having a space to separate out for work. That's really helpful. And I have, like, still have the chance to go out in the garden, maybe catch some actual daylight as we go into winter, and it's going to be, like, dark from 4:30.
Oh my god, so depressing.
And I quite like not having to go out in the cold, the rain, the snow, so win.
That is definitely a perk.
Are you enjoying working from home as well?
I think if you asked me in the beginning, I'd say yeah. I feel like as it's gone on, I kind of do slightly want that. I think it's again because of the fact that we do only live in like a 1-bedroom flat, so it's kind of like everything is on top of everything, and I kind of did consider, but obviously now I can't, like going back into the office maybe just like in the afternoons or like one day a week or something, just to kind of like break the pace of the day.
You might actually remember what day of the week it is.
Yeah, exactly. And they have the nice coffee. They have an espresso. I have so many espresso pods that are sat in my locker that I want to drink. But so it's kind of like I would want the mix. I think it is nice, and actually I really like the fact that we've been able to spend time with the cats, and I think the cats have appreciated that as well. Like being a cat parent, I take it very seriously. And it's been really nice, like sometimes, like at lunchtime, like just having a little cuddle because they're nice and warm too. Yeah. Especially now in the winter, you need a nice warm cat to cuddle. So yeah, what about you though?
Oh, definitely. I was about to say definitely nice, but then I remember that like when I'm actually sitting there Monday to Friday, sometimes if I miss my morning walks, it's like, oh my god, I've literally not left this flat like all day, nor have I seen anyone other than obviously yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I do miss seeing the people at work. I think we're a nice lot. I like my office. I like the people I work with. And everyone's generally quite friendly. But yeah, I think it's on my nice list because I get to do more things in the evening. There's not that time commuting or rushing to get dinner and make dinner and do all of these things. You can just cut the day by getting up from your desk and spending time with like pets and partners and family if you live with family.
I think as well, like it's maybe a bit different for you guys, like wanting to go in some days of the week because you're not that far from work. Like it's like a 20-minute walk for you guys.
Yeah, 15 if like you're running late.
15 if you walk at Dale's pace.
Speedy.
What did we call Dale? The Flash?
Yeah. There'd be times I'd actually leave the house before him and I'd see him overtake me on the way to work. I'd just be like, oh, alright, hi. And it's like, see you later.
So 20 minutes, depending on who's walking. Me, 30. Versus, like, it's been a while since I've lived close to anywhere I worked. I think it was like 8-9 months where I lived like 20 minutes away. But everything's kind of been like driving for an hour. So it's kind of like actually, although like there's still kind of like, that was times I kind of listened to podcasts, blast music so you wake up in the car, you're like singing at the top of your lungs. Those are good, but now I kind of feel like instead of kind of waking up, leaving the house, it's dark, driving there, getting to work, you're there, you might go outside at lunchtime to get some fresh air or like to go to the shops, and then you come back, and then when you leave you can like, you literally the afternoon's going and you're watching the sun go down and you're like, it's dark outside already. And then having to either like get back into your car and put like, it's cold, it's raining, it's usually raining because this is England. Let's face it. It's usually raining, so you're normally wet, like even just getting back to the car or getting back to the house, even in that 20-minute walk. I don't have that anymore. Like, I don't miss it. I feel like that made me more tired. Whereas I feel, work can be exhausting, like if you've got a busy day on and stuff like that. But at the end, you're kind of like, okay, I'm shutting my laptop. Do you know what? I'm straight to the glass of wine. Make yourself a cocktail, pour yourself a glass of wine. Like literally, not having to worry about having to go out in the rain, and even if you do go out in the rain, it's because you kind of need to go to the shop or something like that. That's not necessarily every day. If you can have something for dinner already in the fridge, then you could just like get to cooking, and you can have your meals at a decent time as well. Like when I used to get home, it would be like at least like 7:30.
Yeah.
And then you've got to like dry off, warm up, cook, eat. By the time that's like 9:30. But then you don't really feel like you have much of an evening. Whereas now I can feel like I can finish. I can like maybe do some housework. I can chill for a bit. And have dinner. Then actually like just relax and enjoy like sometimes I'm doing kind of podcasty work, sometimes I'm doing research for other stuff that I'm doing, like just do stuff that's me without my brain feeling physically tired and being like, oh, I have to wake up at 5 tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of like, I feel like this is for me an ultimate work-life balance, being able to actually focus on my life.
Yeah.
A lot of your working hours are actually the commute, and you don't even get paid for those.
Yeah.
No.
Because it's about 60% of adults during COVID have started working from home, possibly for the first time.
Yeah.
So that's gonna transform, I think, how maybe companies think of what their employees should be doing in terms of maybe changing contracts or if you can flex hours and certain things like that. Maybe this will happen into next year. Which will be an interesting turning point, I think, in terms of our relationship with how much time we social distance, i.e. not going outside, versus staying at home and working from home as well, and how you sort of change up your routine around those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely been on my nice list.
Yeah,
but,
nice.
5% naughty because I don't get to see the people at work.
It deserves a good present, I think.
Yeah.
Give it something that's on, its Christmas list, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has to go on the nice Christmas list because it's really going to motivate me to get my tree up. And normally I'm like, okay, it's Christmas Eve, I should really put my tree up.
Is there anything in your mind that sticked out in terms of being on your naughty or nice list?
Well, there's George Floyd, isn't there? After, what obviously the police did to him, and that video going viral and stuff, I feel like it kind of woke up the world, and in the middle of kind of, again, a pandemic where, there was, there's obviously this virus that's, threatening people and all that stuff. So many people went out and marched and was kind of enough is enough of this, no more, this is ridiculous, it's fucking 2020 for Christ's sake, no, we're not standing for this anymore. And it was so, I feel it's again one of those, I think, moments in history that will be remembered for kind of sort of sparking change.
Yeah.
Long over fucking do change, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's been sort of termed the greatest civil rights movement in sort of, well, certainly our lifetimes, but also maybe perhaps our parents' lifetime as well.
Especially one that, well, obviously we all know kind of the Martin Luther King era and all of that time, and those movements where basically kind of were just America, and although they are remembered globally, this was global.
Yeah.
This sparked riots in every country, black, white, Asian or other. Everyone was kind of enough is enough, and it's kind of we are standing to tell our government that we won't stand for it here, and we will not allow you to sit by and allow it to happen in a country that you call our ally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's so important. It's such an important lesson to learn from what's happened with George Floyd. So I'd say what's definitely on my naughty list in this situation would be, I guess, the years of issues of systemic racism and sort of injustice. That's on my naughty list in terms of how long it's been able to carry on. But what's on my nice list is the fact that this tragedy has happened, and we're still sort of hopeful that something different there will be a different result of what's gone on.
Yeah, because it sparked a movement. It's out of tragedy we saw great, civil kind of rights action, again, the protests. We went to the one in Brighton and there was just so many people that just turned out from and it was so hugely diverse as well. There was kind of people with their kids, there was people from all over the world, people in wheelchairs, people with the kind of other walking aids and all of that stuff. It was just literally it was just everybody was just no. Yeah. And I think that's the thing, out of that is, again, I would agree with you. I think I would put that part of it on the nice list, in the sense that it certainly opened people's eyes and has become a catalyst for change. But it's just a very horrible shame that it had to be because of what happened. Like, that should never have happened to him. Yeah. And it should never happen to anyone.
I'm 100% in agreement with you, not with you guys, as you well know I'm very passionate about it, as you are. But at the same time, I want to kind of remind people that actually, when we're talking about it being a long time coming, yes, I agree, we should have had all of this stuff put in when we had the first thing where you gave us equality, which meant the right to vote, but only for men, but we won't go there. We won't go there. But it has been less time since slavery was abolished than slavery actually existed. So, although we are still fighting for change, we can't forget that actually equality for people of, like, you know, if you are Asian, black,
I think any sort of like racial sort of discrimination.
It's fairly recent that has kind of been told, and it does take some time to kind of filter out the minds of the people who still felt that way. It's kind of like I say about we use the analogy of the American Civil War. You had the southern states fighting the northern states, again, under the guise of abolishing slavery, but again, we won't go there. Just because the North won doesn't mean the people in the South's views changed just because they lost.
Yeah.
Hence, like, the Confederate flag still being such a big thing. What I'm hoping that would be different this time is that we take more of a step, because unlike when we had the civil rights movement of the Martin Luther King era in America, one, this is global, everyone's addressing it at the same time.
Yeah.
But two, there is more people of other races that are joining in on the fight and on that battle, in the protest. And you can't just do it with, you know, black people saying you need to give me equal rights. We need everybody standing together and saying we are all equal, treat all of us equally. And I've seen that in the recent months, not just since his death, but continually now. People are still protesting. Some states are protesting every week, if not every day. And every time the police continue to do something wrong in America, everyone gets up and they march. And I love it. Because as much as, and how devastating it is to have people die in order to do this, unfortunately, that is always the catalyst for change.
Yeah.
And let's take something that's devastating and let's empower it.
Yeah.
And empower ourselves by it. Yes, that was devastating, but you know what we learned from that? We finally got to the point where enough is enough.
Yeah.
And we're going to make change, and we're not going to have that death in vain, and any of these deaths in vain. I could not believe the videos that I saw in the panorama about UK police. Like, wow. But, you know, everything's coming to light now, and because of that, and again, a positivity, I guess, on the pandemic, everyone has the time to stop and listen and to speak up.
Yeah.
Now.
And it's also been the frustration of being in the situation of being in lockdown, COVID, and this threat of this virus. I don't know, exasperating the frustration of all of these things that we now have time to sit down and pay attention
Unite.
to.
Yeah. And so although I want to put everything on the naughty list, I'm not going to. Because as much as I'm not going to give it a present for saying pat on the back, well done, it shouldn't have happened in the first place. But without that, we wouldn't be where we are now.
Yeah.
And sometimes, although those things are devastating, I'm not going to give you like a stocking or anything. You might just survive Christmas with no present. But I don't think you deserve a coal anyway. I don't think you deserve a coal anyway. No. I really don't. The Kardashians is coming to an end this year. There is going to be no future seasons, I believe. They might be doing one more, to be fair. But keeping up with the Kardashians is ending.
I've never watched it.
Really?
I've obviously seen clips, because I'm internet nerd, so there's a lot of memes. So I've consumed it in that sense. But I've never actually watched it. So, to be honest, I don't really care.
Naughty.
I wouldn't even put it on the list. I forget it's there.
I feel the same.
Forget your present this year.
They're ending it after apparently 20 seasons, which is quite a long time. I've seen a couple of episodes, but yeah.
I mean,
naughty.
I
I'm just gonna call them the naughty.
have seen episodes, but not recently. So let's just say whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to put in a sound effect of, like when you let a balloon off and it's like...
See what I can do. So, we're all in agreement then. Naughty list.
Yeah, naughty.
Quit, sweet. Okay, let's go.
Yeah. What about cinemas, guys? I'm definitely going to miss going to the cinemas. And that's something I used to do mostly around Christmas time also.
Yeah, like there's nothing like actually like getting out of your coat in a cinema, and like sometimes like we used to go to the cinema a lot, and so like it would be late, we'd go and get like a coffee or a hot chocolate to like sit in the cinema with and warm ourselves up after like being outside and stuff like that. I do kind of miss the cinema in the winter because it's also like something to do with people that's indoors and you're not gonna like freeze your bum off.
Yeah.
Even though I'd be freezing my bum off in my warm car. Yeah, I will miss the cinema, but kind of like, as much as I want to put it on my nice list because I love the cinema, if everyone's delayed their movies and there's nothing to watch in the cinema, it makes sense that they're closed.
Yeah. Well,
like what are you going to watch?
Yeah. I feel bad though because this is like, they're obviously a business, and not having like the recent James Bond, which was postponed twice, which is when I believe Cineworld basically announced that they were going to just close some of these cinemas. Obviously people work there and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think for that regard, it's kind of a shame. It's a sad thing, but also at the same time, it gets what I've read, the cinema has been kind of suffering for quite some time.
Yeah.
So who knows? We're seeing more. Well, actually, since COVID, we're seeing more drive-in sort of theatre and cinema and productions and stuff. So we might see more of that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a big nostalgia thing, isn't it? From coming back from the 80s.
I think in Brighton Beach, obviously they have the cinema on the beach. Like you could, obviously it's a wide open space. You can make that socially distant as well. Like I think maybe that's maybe where it will move to, and that's what those businesses will probably need to do, at least in the near term future, in order to be able to like kind of sustain themselves a bit.
I think there's ways that you can make the cinema even indoors, because like I'm not sure I'd want to go at Christmas and sit for 2 hours and watch Stanley Kubrick or whatever it is. Like, it's cold.
Yeah.
I don't do well in the cold, but I think there's definitely ways that the cinema can adapt to make things a little bit more socially distanced than they are now. There are a number of cinemas now, but I went to this Odeon one in London, in West London. I think it's like Whitley Bay or White Bay or something like that, something with W. And they do like this luxury cinema where they have kind of like recliners and love seats. So if you're sitting, like, obviously we went together, it was actually for my birthday, like years ago now, but we went up there for my birthday treat, and we had like a love seat so we could recline together, we could like hold hands, because you know when you're in a cinema you've got like the awkward arm things in the
in the middle.
And also at the same time it had waitress service. So you had a button that you pushed, and it had a little tray that you could have, like, kind of like this, the aeroplane ones that you can kind of pull out. You're not actually near any of the other seats, like they're all kind of spread out.
Yeah.
And then you could order not only like an actual meal, like food, but you could also have like them bring your drinks and your popcorn, so you're not going in and out as well. So if more cinemas were a bit more luxurious, I still think people would go. Like, I'm sorry, but as much as I would love to still do those outdoor cinemas, that's not going to allow me to go and see a James Cameron movie in an IMAX in the same way with fat off-screen surround sound experience. Yeah. It's not going to give me that 3D experience on the beach.
See, for me, I'm a sucker for, like, the romantic element of, like, maybe it's because I saw in movies of, like, being on maybe a car or, like, being in this space where you're social distance and you're sort of engaging with a performance or a screen. Because the Brighton Fringe, we went to a comedy show It was kind of like bingo.
Oh, the thing at the Warren.
Yeah, the Warren
on the beach.
Brighton Beach. And it was like by a drag king, I believe. Alfie Ordinary. And we kind of played bingo, but it was going through music.
From the like late 90s and early noughties.
Yeah.
So they had like all sorts, and it was like quite fun.
Yeah. So I reckon.
And they encourage you to sing along as well. Well, we see socially distanced means you can sing and no one can tell whether you can't sing or not.
I do definitely like the experiences of having those things. I love the theatre, so I love performing live arts. But I do think there are some movies that experience is just not good enough for. There is that, I love that nostalgia of like kind of watching a kind of, even like horror movies, I think it's perfect for the outdoor. But if I'm watching an action movie or something that's really immersive, I want to be immersed. Like, I don't know if I would enjoy Avatar as much as if I watched it on a pebble beach than I did in an IMAX.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it kind of focuses you as
and
well.
it kind of zones you in.
Yeah.
Like, as much as you definitely need to be somewhere where the cars and other people and the noises can't be. I think maybe Brighton Beach can sometimes be a bit too bright.
Yeah, and windy, rainy.
All of the above.
It's always beautiful though, which is nice.
But it always looks nice. It doesn't necessarily be nice when you're on it.
Yeah.
I definitely think that the age of where they're making movies just for cinema maybe would be reduced, and obviously with Disney owning so many different pitch like titles, whatever you call them, and now moving things like Mulan failed. That was one of the first movies out of the pandemic to kind of be postponed and was supposed to have come out in July, and it didn't. They just moved that online, and a lot of their movies have just gone straight to their Disney Plus platform, rather than kind of going into the cinemas, which obviously skipping out the cinemas itself.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do kind of see it in the same sense of what we were talking about with game and with consoles game companies like Sony and Microsoft needing the games companies to actually sell the physical consoles that they've got these deals in for the games, and seeing them this year also be like, well, we don't actually need a physical store anymore, we can kind of deliver everything online, especially with people going online with Stadia. So I think the experience of the cinema probably won't be as often unless you're maybe a diehard and you go like having the unlimited cards and the whatever they call them, limitless, I think the Odeon call it, where you can see as many movies for a subscription as you want each month. I think it would just be a different experience, and maybe you'll still have the crowd, but maybe it would be in a not like row. You'd have, like I said, like the love seats and more luxurious things where you can have more of an experience, and that will still be it, but it wouldn't be like maybe as many cinemas.
Yeah, it'll be like kind of more niche, but they maybe be able to get the markup on that as well, like in terms of how much people go for that luxury, because they can now justify the cost. So I think, like, for me, and I think we're in agreement that that old type of cinema, that, you know, where it's all cramped and stuff, is maybe on the naughty list, but
sticky carpets.
In terms of, at least for me, sticky carpets.
Oh my god.
But for me, certainly drive-ins are in, but obviously in your case.
I'm all for it. I just feel like there's, as a big movie buff, that's not going to cut it for some of the experiences that I want, but I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I say, like, I feel like that I, as a person that didn't often take advantage of going to the cinema as much as I probably should have done, I feel like that I do actually really enjoy going, and I think if it goes more down the luxury route, then I'm all for it. But I still kind of miss that whole getting your popcorn and kind of sitting down big screen kind of experience. So it's in the naughty list, the fact that they're not open right now. But, like, I want to give them a present, like, just to, like, help them out a little bit. I feel like, give you, I'll put a tenner in your card. Just
same
like,
cinemas are theatres.
I'm sorry, but we need that experience. We need cinemas. We need some kind of, like, pastime.
Clap for Carers. I hope that continues into next year. I think we should always show appreciation. That sort of community spirit and that movement of coming to show appreciation for our health service and for those that work in the health service, especially during a pandemic, that's taught us so much more, and I think the governments are now sort of looking at taking it more seriously, I guess. So yeah, for me, I would say clapping for carers, but not quite necessarily in the same way, but some iteration of clapping for carers, showing that appreciation and love for the people in our community that looks after our relatives, family, and us.
Ourselves,
is important.
If I was a carer or a nurse, I'd rather get a pay rise than have people clapping for me. And so I remember actually seeing a meme, and it was kind of like MPs are getting a pay rise because they always get a pay rise, and it was kind of like, instead let's just clap for them and give the pay rise to like the nurses and the NHS workers and the carers. And that's the thing, like, I think the sentiment behind it is really sweet and admirable, but no, give them a pay rise. Like, don't be like, oh, let's clap for them. It's like, no, why don't you find a little bit more money in the public purse and give them, like, you know, a bit more money in their pocket to be able to actually, like, live better quality of life. Especially because I don't know the percentages, but things like frontline stuff, they're more likely to, like, be on, to make use of food banks and stuff. And I remember reading that nurses have had to use food banks in the past and stuff like that. I just think that, like, I love the sentiment, and therefore I would put it on the nice list.
Yeah.
Because I think it was kind of like that whole, I don't know, like, blitz kind of, like, mentality of, like, we're all in this together and blah, blah. But I think, give them a pay rise.
Which I agree with, by the way.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I agree with Liam, but for that reason I'm going to put it on my naughty list, because as much as I feel like more of what has come out of the clap for carers, I feel like we are still not clapping right now, but still very gracious to the people who are taking care of our relatives and ourselves and other community members who are passing through hospitals and care homes. And we can be gracious without showing what... I can't even remember how it started, but the fact that the government have been like, yeah, let's jump on this bandwagon, let's clap for carers, let's have this every Thursday and do that, but really it's a kick in the teeth, because if you're saying one thing to people, yeah, we care about you, but yet you're not actually showing, like, doing the things that show that you care, and you're thankful for the things that they've had to put aside, like seeing their families and stuff like that, to take care of the pandemic, everything they've been holding us up. That's not enough, I'm sorry, is wrong, because it's basically a way for the government to guise that they're actually doing nothing to say thank you to these people. And especially nurses, like, don't get me wrong, doctors are great, but nurses have been underutilised for so long, under-recognised, for so long, in terms of, yes,
you're overutilised for so long.
Overutilised and under-recognised, exactly. And it's kind of like, as much as, yes, we need doctors and we need specialisms, when you are a patient and you are in a bed in a hospital, you mostly see the nurse. The nurse is coming to help you, sometimes to go to the toilet, to give your meds that the doctors, prescribe, but you saw the doctor, like, once a day.
Yeah.
And the people actually making sure that you take your meds and you're taking the right meds, those are the nurses. And that you're like, oh, we agreed a salary for you a few years ago. That contract's still there. So basically, because we just agreed that one, even though there's a pandemic and certain circumstances has changed, we're not going to give you a pay rise. I'm sorry, it goes in the naughty list.
Some of those nurses didn't get to see their families like 6 weeks. Like, their children, their spouses, they literally had to live in complete isolation, like, and in full body suit all day long. Like, could you imagine, like, not just your face mask, but again the suits with that heavy PPE? Like, it's really tough. Like, make their, like, lives a bit easier by making sure that at least they don't have to worry about how they're going to feed themselves and how they're going to house themselves and clothe themselves and look after their families. Like, pay a little more.
I think, especially during COVID, I think this is perhaps why sort of Sir Tom Moore, the Second World War veteran, people got behind him raising 30 million pounds for the NHS.
Fucking goat, mate. Goat. Well done, Tom.
For a second I was like, what's a goat, Shauna? What's a goat?
No, greatest of all time. He is epic.
Yes.
What a legend.
Yeah, he's definitely on my
Naughty
not nice list.
And well done on was his OBE that he got? What was it?
Well, he's a sir now.
He's a sir now, yeah.
That is an OBE, isn't it?
Yeah. Anyways, Tom on my bloody nice list. I will put him on there twice. I think that he's so deserved.
Hopefully that money does manage to find its way into the nurse's pocket and
Yeah.
to sort of assist, I guess, the NHS in sort of the jobs they do. Is there anything that like you're looking forward to continuing on that you maybe thought was a good thing about this year?
Our podcast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That goes without saying.
Oh yeah.
Change the drive that people have had to unite and force change, force the governments to recognise that actually there's more of the little and less of the few. No, the other way around. That didn't make sense. Did it? More of the many and less the few. Yes, that's the one. And I was like, no, I just said the same thing. But yeah, that actually, like, we have a voice just because we don't have money. It doesn't mean that we're not here. And I think that the push for unity and change for how we treat our planet.
Yeah.
And forcing the government, I'm really looking forward. As much as I hate Boris Johnson, I'm very glad that he went to the UN and said that he wants to invest in wind power, wind energy, just because I think, thank you, like, let's stop pumping more money into fossil fuels and, put the same amount of energy into replacing it eventually completely. Yeah. That might not be today, that might not be tomorrow, but we have to take the first step and continue to take steps in big strides in order to ensure that we can, be on the planet. I also think the good thing about 2020 that I hope that will expand and be better than it currently is, but the sentiment of it is the retraining programs. I don't even get me started on the advert that the government put out with the ballerina. That's not what I'm talking about.
That's quite an old one now, ballerina.
Even so, like, the picture was old, but the words on the poster were new about retraining, and that's the wrong message that I think that I'm against.
It's
that completely.
Clumsy.
It was just distasteful.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is there will be jobs displaced, and there will be things that, just like, when mining stopped and stuff like that, or slowed down, that people felt displaced, and we already had the austerity. We already had austerity with the fact that obviously with the less manufacturing that's affected parts of the country and benefit others where they've kind of benefited from the new ways that we've done that. We've been running the world, what we're doing now. That I think it's good to be making sure that we do retrain people and give them the opportunity to not feel like if this kind of type of job, this industry shuts down, they will have nothing to do and they won't be able to make money. That kind of sentiment, not necessarily the way in which they've gone about it.
Yeah.
I hope that continues as well.
Yeah. For me, I would say my, crazy obsession at the moment with, like, drag and sort of, like, learning about drag this year. I think certainly... Yeah, my interest in RuPaul's Drag Race has sort of peaked this year. First year I've seen, like, a drag... Well, it is a drag king.
Yeah.
But I guess it's all within the same realm, isn't it?
Did you ever see drag queens?
Oh, what am I talking about? Of course I saw
They
drag
were
queens.
drag queens. Come on, how did you forget that? Come on, there used to be drag queens there all the time.
Yeah, but do you know what?
But a different type of drag, though.
But do you know what I think about it, like, sort of separately? Because, like, for me, there's my idea of my knowledge of what drag was. Maybe at the time I thought that was drag, but it wasn't sort of the serious type of drag. But I've realised that drag is drag, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, you reminded me that obviously, like, I'm on that journey too, which is, like, really fun. Although, like, I'm not, like, the best at it yet, but I think that's what 2021's for. It's to teach them to draw. Because I can't draw on paper, so, like...
You need the time, isn't it? To, like, you need the time to sort of improve and learn.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I went so serious now, and you guys went so, like...
But I was going to say, on top of that...
I feel like I need something fun as well now.
I would say, I don't know, in addition to that, I kind of want to see, there's been a lot of debate and a lot of discussion, I think, about of a lot of different things, particularly in regards to kind of like, regarding, not in regards to. No, I just kind of think there was a lot of debates that has come out of like, 2020 in terms of kind of sort of like looking at groups that were previously kind of like subjugated and kind of still are in a certain sense in certain places. Like, suddenly those voices being listened to a lot more and people taking those issues a lot more seriously, obviously, with, like, the Black Lives Matter movement, for example, like, being one of, like, I think, like, one of the biggest, like, again, movements that we've seen, like, in a very long time, again, globally. I kind of think that, what I want to see is actually that gaining more traction and there actually being actual change and people actually just again understanding that just because someone or something is different from you doesn't mean to say it's bad or that it's something that deserves to be attacked or whatever. Like, just accept that difference is difference and just treat people equally. And it's probably what I always look forward to every year, and it always takes different forms in some way, but I'm looking forward to progress.
Yeah, that's a very important
more drag, more progress.
Yeah. A massive thanks to all of our listeners and supporters. Don't forget to hit subscribe to get notified of future episodes. For additional content, behind the scenes fun, and more of our beautiful faces, give us a follow on Instagram at P3 Podcast. Cheers! You can follow me, Dale, on Instagram at DaleCam11. Yeah, go on, follow me.
You can follow me on IG at Shay_Cam. Look forward to seeing you there.
Hi, the name's Liam. I've got pics. You want to see them? Well, then don't wait till tomorrow. Give us a follow. Go on IG and search at LA Doheny.